guys have done a really good job of figuring out their instruments together. They don't meet all together. In fact, they've only met once together this semester and once together last semester just to prepare for the concert. So Friday, we all got together during 6th and 7th hour, all 140 of us crammed into the band room and played these songs. And they did a super good job on that rehearsal. And I'm always so amazed at how I can teach them, because right now, we have a woodwind class, so that's flute, oboe, clarinet, alto sax, bassoon. They all play in one class. And then we have a high brass percussion class, so that's trumpets and percussion. And then we have a low brass class with trombone, baritone, tuba, and horn. So they're all split into these 3 different classes, but the ability for them to come together and work really hard in a matter of 2 class periods and pull all this together is really phenomenal. So if you would, give them a round of applause for their hard work. This year's kind of been a mess coming out of COVID. Last year, we guys are so lucky to not have band as beginners during COVID because we had to wear masks and bell covers and separate. It was a nightmare to teach these kids. But these kids have kind of been blessed with that. One of the things that we normally do for beginning bands is solo and ensemble, but with how timing worked and everything that we were doing in school, it was not working out for most of the beginning band. But we did have one group that performed at solo and ensemble, and I want to recognize them now. Our beginning percussionists, they have another teacher, Miss Brown, who comes in. She's from the high school, and she comes and helps them. And she was able to put together a percussion ensemble. And for solo and ensemble, they play in front of a judge, and that judge will give them a rating of a 1 through 5. It's kind of like golf. 1 is the best, 5 is the worst. 1 is the highest division rating that they can get, and all of these percussionists earned a first division rating for their solo ensemble. Our other musicians will have a chance to do solo ensemble next year as a 7th grader, and we highly encourage it. It's a really good time for them to develop their skills individually, and it gives them a chance to get better on their instrument at their own level. Because not all these kids play at like the greatest level. They may not practice as much as other people, but we can still push them and make them even better than what they are right now. Our next song we're going to play is one of my favorites. All my beginning band classes have played this because I just love the song so much. It's called Creepy Crawlies. It's all about bugs and the way that bugs make us feel. And we have a special tribute to The Fly, I guess. The trumpets are going to take off their mouthpieces and buzz, and it'll sound like a fly. And eventually the entire band will smash their foot and kill that fly, and then they'll play the death song from Chopin's Funeral March. But this is Creepy Crawlies. Okay. Yeah, it's a fun song. I really enjoy that one. All right, so we have 3 songs total. This is our last song that we're going to play. But before we play this one, I have to give a couple of special shout-outs. I would like to thank Miss Brown. She's not here today. She actually had a baby a couple months ago or a month ago. And so she's been out on maternity leave, and she's been a wonderful help all year long. She's done a tremendous job with these kids, helping them out as well. I'd also like to thank Mr. Rowan. He's the former high school band director at Rogers High School. He's filling in for Miss Brown because she's on maternity leave, so that's awesome. He's done a tremendous job helping out and getting these kids kind of organized and helping me out tremendously. I'd also like to thank Mr. Kane. He was here. He's the assistant high school band director. Him and Mr. Rowan helped set up the stage completely. It saved about an hour and a half of my time after school, so that was a big help for me. And then I'd also like to thank our administrators for their continued support for our music programs. Anytime we have something going wrong or something that we need help with, they are the first to help us and figure out a way to help us. And so I tremendously appreciate them. Also appreciate, I see a lot of teachers and staff members from Kirksey out here visiting and watching the show. So I appreciate you guys and your support of these kids, and they have noticed you. I've seen, they've been saying your names up here on the stage. So excited that you're here, so I appreciate that. And lastly, I would like to thank you guys as parents. Without you, this could not happen. It's clear that you guys support this, and it's clear that they love this. And so I'm thankful for the support that I've got from you guys. Money, the amount of Tylenol that you bought, listening to the practice at home, whatever you call it, whatever that support looks like, I greatly appreciate it. And I hope that you realize that as we go further in this, and they get older and they start doing more band, it gets to be more fun, they enjoy it a lot more, and you guys getting involved is a big part of their lives. So we look forward to seeing you guys like in our band booster programs and things like that, and it's a tremendous help to help out these kids, and they'll benefit from it greatly. So we're going to close our final song, which is going to be On Wisconsin, which is not, we don't call it On Wisconsin, that's our fight song. It's our Kirksey fight song. This song's more geared towards our 8th grade playing it, but these are 6th graders playing this song, and they've done a really good job with it too. So here's our fight song. Thank you so much for coming out, and we hope you guys have a great summer. just to talk about their group, because I think it's important that you realize where they've come from. So they started as beginners, I'm sure you guys know, they started as beginners during the pandemic here, where we're having to wear masks, we're having to social distance. Some of these kids didn't even have band in the band room all year, because we were in 4 different classrooms, making sure we spread out. They did a wonderful job. I never heard complaining, but they didn't know any different of what band was like. And it was kind of a rough experience. It was really difficult to learn an instrument with a mask on and try to do all these things. But a lot of the things that we were doing was there just to keep them safe. We had a university, once the pandemic hit, we had a university that all these music programs paid into to do this study to figure out if we can do this safely with COVID. And they found that if they wore band masks, it was like a 12% reduction in how much air particles were floating through the air. And if they put on bell covers, it was a reduction and stuff like that. So we did everything possible to make these kids as safe as possible. And they did such a good job of learning their instruments, figured things out, and really powering through a really difficult year. And this is by far one of the largest 7th grade classes that I've had. And they've done a tremendous job. And so I would encourage you to give them a round of applause for the amount of work that they put into this. It's been really encouraging to see them and see how far they've come and see how much they've learned. When I talk to other band directors all across the country, it is not the same story. Many band programs are really suffering. A lot of the kids quit their programs, they're dwindling in numbers. But for mine, it is quite the opposite. I mean, we have large groups, and these kids are really motivated to stay in band. And so I tremendously appreciate them, and they really have no idea how much I do appreciate them. I can't even put it into words. So, but we're going to talk about our next song, which is a really fun song. I've never done this song before. It's called Junkyard Jam. Junkyard Jam will feature some fun percussion instruments. You'll probably see them back there. They've got some buckets you would find from Lowe's. They've got some metal trash can lids. They've got a giant trash can back there. I think we even have a brake drum literally off of a car. But it features the percussion section playing some non-traditional percussion instruments you might see in a junkyard. So this is Junkyard Jam.
I forgot to mention, the whole band will also join the percussion section with some pencils on their stand, which is really fun too. I forgot to mention that.
All right, that was fun. I love that song. All right, I kind of mentioned that they didn't really get to, they were supposed to do concert assessment earlier this year, and then we were doing the Branson trip, which they got to go on, but they didn't get to perform. We had a lot of issues with transportation, it's just been difficult. It's been difficult to find drivers and have all that stuff available to us. So that's really the biggest issue that we have with that type of thing. But these guys have been real troopers, and they kind of hung in there, and so we're excited to do this concert. And just to talk about some of these students, some of them have kind of gone above and beyond what we normally expect for the band class. And that is they participated in different things like solo and ensemble. These kids will also get the chance next year to participate in All Region, which I highly encourage them to do. And we'll talk more about that next year. But this year, some of these students signed up and they elected to do solo and ensemble. And I want to recognize them today. For solo ensemble, they go in, they prepare a piece of music, or sometimes it'll be 2 or 3 people to prepare a piece of music, a trio or a duet. And they play in front of a judge, and that judge gives them a rating of a 1 through 5. And it's kind of like golf. 1 is the best, and 5 is actually the worst. And all of our 7th grade students that participated in solo ensemble got a 1st division rating, which is amazing, so super good. All right, so I'm gonna name them. Our first was Callie Wright. You can stand up. We had a duet by Campbell Corcoran and Darlene Dominguez. We had Tyler Gardino with a solo. And Jacob Hedgefield for a solo as well. Thank you guys so much. They've done an amazing job. They stayed during tutorials, and they played and they learned their music pretty much all on their own. I helped them out a little bit here and there, but man, they're real troopers and real independent practicers, and they did an amazing job. So round of applause for all of our solo ensemble. Next year, they'll have a chance, the 8th graders will have a chance to do solo ensemble as well. So if your kid didn't do solo ensemble and you'd like for them to be better on their instrument, encourage them to do it. Maybe make them, I don't know, hang an Xbox over their head or something, I don't know. All right, our next song we're gonna play is the theme from Spider-Man, arranged by Paul Lavender. All right, I said this in the other concert, so if you're there, I'm going to repeat what I said, but I do want to thank a few people that have really helped out with this concert. We've got Mr. Rowan and Mr. Kane have helped out a lot in terms of setting up this stage. Miss Brown, who's not here with us because she had a baby, which is super exciting. She is not with us, but she's been helping out all year long. She's been a tremendous help with our classes and really helping these guys out. And then I'd also like to thank our administrators. I know some of them are here tonight. They've done a fantastic job of supporting us. They make sure that we have pretty much everything that we need, and I greatly appreciate them and their support. And then I'd also like to thank, I know I see some teachers and some staff members out here. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. These kids appreciate your support, and they love seeing you guys and your faces out here. They actually think that you live at school, so this is nice. You know, I'm just kidding. And then lastly, I do want to thank you guys as parents. I know that last year was difficult in starting up band and doing all these things, especially if you were used to band. You probably thought that the masks and all the stuff we were doing was absolutely crazy, and it was. But I appreciate your support, and these kids have really hung in there, and they've done a great job. And so I can't thank you enough, and I can't wait to see what happens next year when we're in more of a normal year with these kids, and they deserve it. And I'm super excited to see how far they go with their musical careers. So thank you so much. Students, give your parents a round of applause, please. Round of applause. All right. But we're going to close. This is one of the songs that we would have played at Branson, had we been able to do that. But this is Armory by Randall Standards. Probably one of their favorite songs. It's very intense, and it almost sounds like we're in the forge of something being made in an armory. So this is Armory. Thank you guys so much for coming out, and have a great summer. I kind of touched on the pandemic thing. It's been such a predominant thing for these kids because our class was so affected by it. We were probably the most affected by the pandemic, than any other class. These kids went from their beginning band year, I know you guys remember, learning how to play an instrument, it getting cut short, not being able to do their spring concert. The next year they have to wear masks and put on bell covers and separate by 6 feet. They can only play for 30 minutes in a room, blah, 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 blah. There's just so many rules that were involved with this. But all those rules were really just designed to try to keep our kids safe. We never had any transmission in band class, and no kid passed it to another kid, COVID that is. But they did a tremendous job, and they really toughed it out. And when I talk to band directors all across the country, it is quite the opposite of their predicament. They had kids quit. I mean, they dropped 70% in numbers. It's devastating to the programs. This is a fluke. Like, this is not normal for what's happening all across the country, which is very unfortunate that it is happening. But these kids have really toughed this out. They don't even realize how much effort and how much energy they've had to put into this to really make it happen. And so last year, it was tough. They played in the back gym. We recorded our concerts and stuff like that. And I'm sure you guys watched them on YouTube. But they did such a great job, and I never heard anybody complaining. It was just a tremendous effort by them. And it's very rare that you run into middle school kids who are willing to put themselves, put others before themselves, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because really they thought, I need to do this for the group, I need to work for the band. And that's really the attitude that they had all last year, and it's been the attitude that they've had this year too. So I greatly appreciate the efforts, and they deserve an absolute round of applause. So if you don't mind, give them a round of applause, please. I'm extremely proud of them, and you guys should be too. We do have some individuals to talk about this evening as well that have kind of gone above and beyond what is required of their normal band class. And I'm going to talk about all region members right now. These individual students competed against several hundred of other students for a position in the all-region band this year. And we were lucky. Last year we got to do all-region, but it was all virtual, and it was lame. It was awful, to be very frank. But this year they got to do it in person. They got to be a part of the clinic. They learned a whole concert in about 2.5 days, or maybe 1.5 days. And they did super, super great. So I want to recognize these people. So if you would, please stand when I call your name. Sorry, they didn't know I was doing this. Jaylee Bonner, Uriel Lagunas, Kira Ferguson, Miley Woods, J.D. Delgado, Sullivan Shepard, Bryce Hutchins, and Grayson McQueen. Round of applause for all of that. They did a super great job. I was really proud of them. I didn't make it a requirement. Sometimes in 8th grade I make it a requirement, but after the pandemic, I felt like it was just not really a good thing to require that out of them because it was a lot of work, and the music was very, very tough. So they worked really hard to make it into that. I appreciate their efforts too. Our next song is one of the songs that we would have played at our concert assessment had I not gotten deathly ill that day and actually couldn't show up even to work at all. It was awful. But this is Bizarre by Randall Stamage. To recognize some of our other students that went above and beyond this year, we have some solo and ensemble participants. These kids got a chance to prepare a solo or an ensemble, like a duet or trio, and they got to perform in front of a judge, and that judge gave them a rating of a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 5 is the worst, 1 is actually the best. It's kind of like golf. But these guys did a fantastic job. Really, these kids that earned these medals did it kind of all on their own. I pulled them out for what we have is called tutorials, and they just independently practiced. I had like 60 kids in there just working on stuff and practicing, and they did a great job working on their own. But to recognize some of these students receiving a 2nd division rating, we have Carly Gramley. You can clap, that's fine, yeah, sorry. Morelli Estrada Fuentes. Dylan Shackelford. Bryce Hutchins. Cooper Kendall. Sullivan Shepard. Alexander Gomez. All right. And you guys can sit down. In 1st division, we've got Sullivan Shepard. He did 2 things, so I already called his name twice. Carson Palladino. Zoe Jimenez. Kira Ferguson. Brooklyn Poe. Uriel Lagunas. Miley Woods. Jaylene Trejo. Ruby Diaz. Jaylee Bonner. Hector Hurtado. Josue Maldonado. Tanner Myers, who's not here tonight, Ashley Wynn. And Kenzie Payne. Okay, sit up. Sorry. They did a fantastic job, so I'm really proud of all of them. They did great. Our next song is called Lowrider, made popular by the war, arranged by Michael Brown. we have one more song for you. And I do want to thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. I also want to thank our administrators, our teachers, and our staff members that have come here from Kirksey. I appreciate their support tremendously. And it's so nice to have a staff that likes to come out to these events and enjoy spending time watching their students perform in aspects outside of their classroom. I also want to thank you guys, parents, so much for your support and your continued support for this program. I could not have done this without you guys. I know that it's a lot of work, and it seems like I'm a crazy person for wanting to work with middle school kids with giant noisemakers in their hands. But you guys do an amazing job as parents of holding these kids accountable, making sure that they are doing what they need to do for this program. And they've really grown into some responsible young adults. And I really enjoy working with them every single day. I've not had a bad day with this 8th grade group whatsoever. And so I want to thank you guys so much for that and your support. And even going through the pandemic and really toughing it out with us. And I know that it was difficult not being able to go to the concerts last year. But we appreciate your endeavored support. And we hope to see you guys support the high school band too. They have a very robust band booster program, and so if you guys can get involved with that to help out and ease the load on those that are involved with that, I highly recommend it. You'll develop some great bonds and some friendships with these students, even kids that are not even your own, and it's really, really worthwhile, and it's cool to see them grow up. And you only get 4 more years with these kids, so take advantage. As much as you may think some days you're like, oh, I can't wait for those 4 years to be over. Really, it goes by super fast, and so really take it all in and be a part of their lives as much as possible. That would be my recommendation to you. So, with that being said, our last song is one of the songs that we were going to take to Branson. Actually, we did take it to Branson. This group got 2nd place at our Branson competition, so a round of applause for them. What's amazing about these kids, like you didn't see it, and I wish that you could have, but we got off the bus and I was like, we have 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes to warm up and then we're supposed to be on that stage. And they got their instruments out as fast as possible. They trucked into that band room that was literally like, I don't know, it looked like a closet. It was so small, we barely fit in there. All of our ears were bleeding because we were all just, I said, warm up. We don't have time to do anything, just warm up on your own. And they did, and it sounded like a freight train in that room because it was so loud because there's so many kids screaming in there. And then we trucked it on the stage. The percussion were frantic trying to find all their stuff, and they were like, had to make multiple trips. It was a madhouse. But these 8th graders are so good about it. They walked in there and they just meant business. And I didn't have to worry a thing about them. And it was just amazing to see their efforts for that day. And then we had a great time at Silver City. So it's been such a joy working with these kids. And I'm so sad that I only have 2 weeks left with them. But I am very, very happy that I get to work with them in high school too. So this is our last song. It's called The Last Ride of the Pony Express, arranged by David Schaefer.